All right, good day to you. My name is Fred Oakman, and as always with me today is Mr. Jake Peters. We are PS. This is awesome, a PlayStation podcast. This is episode 267. This is a show where we share our feelings about the current state of PlayStation. Before we get on with the show, I want to invite you all to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, youtube.com/PS. This is awesome. And if you want to make fun of our trophy list on the PlayStation Network, you can find me at anchorless_81 and Mr. Jake Peters at jakesaw01. And as always, you can write our show at psthisisawesome at gmail.com. And most importantly, don't forget to share this show with your friends. Be sure to leave comments, rate our podcast as you see fit. That really helps us a lot when people start searching for PlayStation podcasts. The more you guys put in on your podcast stream, the ratings, the comments on YouTube, it really, really does help us get into the eyes and ears of new listeners. So thank you for that. And as a reminder, this is a video podcast, like I said, so you can watch this over on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe to our channel over there. And new and or long-time listeners, we have a Patreon. You can support our show at $1 a month at the one and only $1 Club. So head over to www.patreon.com/PS. This is awesome. And you can become a $1 patron and get a free die cut vinyl sticker in the mail and a shout out on our show. With that out of the way, Jake, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. Sunday, a little bit early, but I mean, it's not early. It's like, I don't know, fucking 20 after 10 or whatever, but it's, I don't know, fine. Morning.
It would be earlier if we didn't do this fucking clock shit.
Yeah, the clocks changed last night. I went to bed and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get a lot of sleep because I went to bed early last night. And then I was reminded that clocks got moved forward.
Yeah, they did.
Now it's like fucking dark until almost 8 o'clock, so that's cool.
Dude, I'm so confused. I thought they passed something. I think we talked about this on the show. And then I read somewhere that Pennsylvania is not acknowledging it. Like the federal government passed something. And then I read that Pennsylvania is just not going to adhere to the new. So we're going to be the only state that has a different. So you can go to Ohio, it'll be a different time. Like what?
Probably.
What's going on?
There are other states that have never acknowledged it. Like Arizona, I don't think ever acknowledged
I'll never understand it. It has everything to do with farming. It's rooted in farming. With needing to be having the plants. I don't know. I don't even know. Having the plants planted in time or something, and the plants need to know what time it is to act right. No, I don't know.
I don't know why they wouldn't. Because I thought the whole thing was that once daylight savings time is in effect, meaning today,
they're not going to change it.
It's done now. It's just this forever. And I don't know why anyone would care or be opposed to it. Like, does it really affect you? Like, does it somehow make your business and everything more positive to have the clocks change twice a year and fuck everybody up? Like, I don't understand.
I gotta do more research on this. I've never fully understood it. And when people are like, oh, we're turning back the clocks, and I'm like, wait, what does that mean? I gain or lose an hour? Like, well, you do this when you turn them forward, and now we're turning them back, so it's going to be this way. And my brain doesn't work that way. I don't have a mind that can wrap around stuff like that. And I don't know, but I saw a post on Facebook that said Pennsylvania is not adhering to the new law that was passed. And it's Facebook, so who the fuck knows it was just a headline. And then someone's comment was like highlighted, and it said like, oh my God, thank goodness, because I could never do my job if we didn't change the time for daylight save. I'd never be able to get through the days. And it's like, really? That one fucking hour? You couldn't do it? Like, come on.
I mean,
like,
the only thing that it means is that it will be in the winter time, it will be darker longer in the morning.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that it means.
Right.
Now, if you're one of those people that's like, oh, I can't stand it when it's fucking dark in the morning, well, then you clearly don't get up very early, because regardless of what time of year it is,
it's
usually kind of dark in the morning. Unless it's like the dead of summer when it gets light at like 5 o'clock in the morning during like the longest day of the year.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like a lot of probably people just resisting change.
I don't even know if what I'm saying is true about Pennsylvania not adopting it. So, if listeners, you guys are getting bored and want to look something up, want a little puzzle to solve, let us know how this fucking thing's going to happen for us. Because I just feel like I'm along for the ride.
What? I'm just going to show up for work, and if I'm late, I'm late. If I'm not, I'm not. Fuck it.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's one way to look at it, to do it. I mean, what the hell? Who cares? For those who can't tell, I've been sick all week. I have not gotten much gaming in. Trying not to be one of those people that just fucking talks about how sick they feel, because I'm a baby when it comes to feeling gross. But I didn't get much games in, so we'll move on to games we're playing on the show right now. I'm just gonna mark it here. I did do something spur of the moment late last night. Now, here's the thing: I never popped a fever. But like I said, I wrote you, like I was like sweating in my sleep and getting clammy and then waking up. And then it's one of those sickness where like you sleep on one side and all of your congestion just slowly moves to the side that you're laying on. And then, every 20 minutes or so, you got to shift so that you can like breathe. And it was going on for like a week. And I've been taking Dayquil like a crazy person. Well, yesterday was the first day in the evening where I actually felt good enough. I started doing some laundry, started folding some clothes, and we have a news point later, and I think it's impossible for me without having someone play the game with me, but I really want to just drive home the point that, for any listeners that like beat 'em ups, and I haven't played the Ninja Turtle games, the new one, or the remakes or whatever the fuck that came out. And I want to, because I'm a fan of the game style. And I'm not necessarily a big Ninja Turtles fan, but I will say Streets of Rage 4 was the best beat 'em up I've played since I was a kid. It's better than the Streets of Rage games, just because it's modernized. But the action in those games are all about gameplay. I know you played a little bit with me at one point, Jake, and you'd mentioned how it felt a little sluggish walking around and stuff. But I think that is kind of how those games are. Some of the characters, though, do move a little faster than others. But, man, Streets of Rage 4 was such a good game. And I'm two or three trophies away from platinuming it. But the ones that I need, one of them is easy. It's just beat the game with one of the characters that I haven't played through with yet. And then the other two, one is like get an all-time score of like 5 million or something, which I would get over time. But the last one is beat every level on like the hardest difficulty, which is like fucking insanity. And I think the only way I could do that is if I had a co-op game going and had some help from friends, because there's no way you could single-handedly do that. There's just no fucking way. But all the other hard trophies I got, and I made a point to learn the game and do it. And I'm so close to get my Streets of Rage 4 trophy. But so with that being said, there was DLC that came out for this game, free downloadable content. And they had released paid DLC called Mr. Nightmare or Professor Nightmare or X Nightmare, Nightmare X. I don't know what it was, but it was essentially a really interesting survival mode that at first I was just like, I'm not paying, $10 for that. And it has like this, this little arena room where they throw bad guys at you, and you maintain your health from arena to arena. So if you get hit a few times, your health's down. And then once you clear that room, you get 3 options for your character. So it's kind of like a roguelike in a way. You get 3 options. And it's like, one, when you're below 50% health, you can pick up this thing and you do 10% more damage. And that stays with you your entire playthrough of the survival mode. Another one is if you happen on a weapon and you're using a weapon in one of these arenas, now it causes fire damage. You can get that upgrade. Every time you beat an arena, it gives you another 3 options to pick from. You can only pick one. So as you go through, you try to find the upgrades. One is like a double jump. One is like, I don't know, you move 10% quicker. So like you're getting boons every time you get through one of these arenas, and then they start throwing more and more bad guys at you, and you see how fucking far you can go. I made it to like level like 16 on my own, and every once in a while they'll throw a boss fight at you, and I hit a boss. And it just wasn't working. I just got taken out. It was a boss that was 3 people. It was like all the same character, but they're really fast and they were just like fucking me up. So, and all these arenas are random. So, it's really, really cool. And I bought it, so to speak. So yeah, so they rolled out this DLC and it was free. It made me open the game back up. And then I noticed there were some trophies that I didn't have from the DLC, which don't pertain to the platinum. But I was like, oh man, this game's so good. I wonder how much was that DLC? And I go and I look at it, and because they rolled out this free patch, the DLC was only $3 or $3.99 for Streets of Rage 4. And I think originally it was like $10. So I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking all in. So I bought it and I played it a bit last night when I was feeling better. So that's something I've been playing a little bit of. And then I'm also still working on Mass Effect 3. And I kind of sent you a text a while back, Jake. I'm just past all of that stuff. You throw like a party. So I'm just past the party part, which I thought was cool when it was over. But some of the party... I felt like it dragged on a little bit, Mass Effect 3, the party parts. But that's probably me, because I just kept telling him to drink more. Turn up the music, keep drinking. I wanted to see what the fuck was going to happen. But anyways, that's all I've played all week. And I have not jumped into VR because I didn't want to put that headset on while I've been sick. I didn't want to like risk getting whatever I have later. So I just haven't even donned the headset this week.
That's not how viruses work.
Doesn't even matter. Cool. Not even gonna try it. Not even gonna risk it. Fuck the science, man. I just don't want this shit again. I also probably. I mean, I was already sweating just laying down, putting that VR headset. It would have made me so nauseous, even though I wasn't running a fever. But I want to get back into that and beat Moss Book 2 and get Pavlov and get Demio and. I think Switchback VR comes out this week, so I really want to get that. I want to jump into Resident Evil Village still. So I've got my plans. I just got to get my health back, and I'm not back to. I'm probably about 70% right now. What about you, Jake? What have you been playing?
Nothing much has changed. I played a little bit more of the Atomic Heart. And one of the things that is cool, I know that obviously this isn't an Xbox podcast, but one of the things that is cool about the whole Game Pass thing is that I have it installed on my PC and I have it on my Xbox. So like the other day, Sarah wanted to use the TV for something. So I came upstairs, booted it up on my PC, and it was like, you have a newer version of your save in the cloud. Do you want to use this one? And I'm like, yep. And then it just boots up on my PC right where I left off on my console.
Oh, that's nice.
And then I could just kind of keep going and playing or whatever, and I don't have to worry about there being 2 different saves.
Does it play better on PC than it does on Xbox?
I mean, yeah, because it's more powerful machine, but it plays pretty well. I bet it would be fine on PS5, to be honest with you. Because it plays pretty well on my Series S, which is not as powerful as the PS5. So yeah. I'm sure it would be fine. There's still a lot of stuff about it that it's just kind of meh. But it's fun to kind of jump into it every now and again just to dick around and try to get a little bit further and kind of be in that world a little bit. Because the world is neat and the environment's neat. And I know people have a lot of problems with like the main character fucking talking constantly and saying dumb shit. Like crispy critters and all this crap. And But I don't know. I can usually look past that stuff. It's not nearly as bad as the dialogue between Frey and Cuff in that demo of Forspoken that I played.
Yeah.
At least this is like trying to be. This is like trying to be campy and kind of dumb. But outside of that, I've just been playing Hogwarts Legacy and Gran Turismo 7. That's literally, since I started Gran Turismo 7, that's the only game that I've played on my VR. I haven't played anything else. I haven't had any desire to play anything else. It's just so much fun to play. And I will admit, like, and I think that this has always been a thing with Gran Turismo games, but one of the things about that game that drives me fucking bananas is, why do I always have to start in last place?
Yeah, what's up with that?
Like, can't you just like introduce maybe a qualifying session, and then like so that I can maybe start farther up the pack, or at least like start me in random places throughout the pack? Don't just fucking start me in last every single time.
Maybe Played by Ken knows this. He's the aficionado on Gran Turismo 7 of our listeners for sure, I think. Dude, chime in if you know the answer to that question.
Because it is annoying, because it's like I know, just generally, depending on if I have a good car and I've upgraded it or whatever, like I'm usually faster than the PC guys, which is fine. Sorry, the NPCs. But it's like 9 times out of 10, I don't know. I guess there is a bit of challenge to it where it's like, oh, if you started in the front, you would never get past, and they'd have to make like the other drivers more challenging and stuff like that, which I guess there is kind of like I understand that, but they should mix it up a little bit. Like I've done, I don't know, fucking just doing the little campaign thing with the cafe. I've probably done 50 plus races, and every single one of them I started in last place. It's like there's not like who decides who gets first place in this game. Now I understand that maybe if you do like another mode or something, there's like qualifying or whatever, but it does seem kind of weird to me that, or maybe they line it up based on how good your car is. I have no idea.
You're just always over-spec'd. That's what. No, dude, I'm always in last place too, even when I have a shittier car.
Yeah, I think that's just how it is. But it's like, if it's especially annoying if for whatever reason you don't have a car that is very well spec'd and you start in last place, it's difficult for you to get through the pack before the end of the race, especially on some of these shorter races. So
they give you just enough laps to do it.
Yeah, the only way that I've found to make it so that I know that I can get to the front before the end of the race is that I buy, if I don't have a car that's in that category, I buy one, and then I just upgrade the shit out of it with all of my money before I do this race. And then it's like, okay, I go in there and now my car is whatever, 100 points higher than the minimum.
Yeah.
And so now I know I can get all the way through the pack or whatever.
Dude, let me ask you this.
I can beat them on whatever.
About that, because now you're talking about credits and stuff. Did you try the thing we talked about last episode? You're like,
oh yeah, what the fuck is up with that? I've used like, I don't know, 30 roulette tickets.
Have you ever gotten anything but the worst?
Every time it's the worst one.
Yeah, me too. Like, what the fuck? Does anyone get anything better than that? Is that their way of wanting you to buy shit on the PS? There'll be like 4 fucking cars and then like a huge thing of gold and then like the lamest thing, and I always get the lamest thing. I'm like, dude, I'm about to get a car, and like it never happens.
Yeah, it's funny how it's like it's always 5 things. So one will be like, one time I did it last night. It was like 3 cars, a giant pile of money, and then like a tiny pile of money,
like a nickel.
And I just you get the smallest thing every single time. I don't understand. This must be one of those things that, remember when this game came out, everybody was complaining about it and how expensive cars were.
They had to rework the currency or something.
Yeah,
and there was some shit going on.
Like, I wonder if this was part of that, because it is kind of insane. It's like, why even give me the roulette ticket? Just give me the fucking money. That's the lowest thing. Like, don't make me sit through this goddamn Wheel of Fortune
Fucking
shit.
tease me. Yeah.
Just give me the fucking lowest money whenever I get this ticket. Like, can I just sell it to you for the money and not have to sit through this animation where I know I'm not going to get anything other than the worst fucking thing in here? Like,
do you have to be like a member? Do you have to pay for like some sort of subscription to get the opportunity to win that other shit? Like what? How does that work? Like why?
One time I got something other than money. It was like a, I don't know, like fucking camshafts or something like that. It wasn't even a car. It was like a part, but it was like camshafts for the 1996 Honda Civic Type R. It's like, okay, well, I don't even fucking use that car or even have that car. This is useless to me. Like, why is this in here? It is arguably the most infuriating. If it wasn't for the fact that it gives me money, I wouldn't even bother rolling the wheel because it's such a waste of my time.
It'd be like me winning a pair of like 18-inch tires.
Yeah, it's like you can't even use them on your car.
Nice. All right, eBay.
But yeah, I mean, so yeah, that's probably my biggest frustration. I have been playing quite a bit though, and I really enjoy it. I found one of the other things that I don't really like is when they make you do when they make you do those like little side things, like where they're teaching you how to play the game, and like one of them is like you have to do this thing to like learn a course or whatever, and it's like do like a 1 lap thing, and it's like you have to get under a certain time, but they make you use like their fucking car, like whatever the hell this car is. It's like not a car that I've spec'd for myself that drives the way that I like to drive it. It's like this fucking random ass car that they make me drive to do this particular thing. Because like for me, it's one thing if you want to say like within this race you have to have a car within these like parameters, and like for the regular races, then it's like, okay, I find a car that's in there, and then I upgrade it the way that I like it.
Yeah.
But in these like weird little challenges and stuff, they're like, okay, you got to use this fucking weird ass car that controls way differently than you're used to, and it makes it hard. Now maybe that's kind of the point, but other than that, I don't know. I'm really enjoying it. There's some.
So I'm looking right now on this roulette thing, and this was a year ago. A Reddit post with 120 comments. It says, anyone else getting the worst possible reward with every single roulette ticket? And then the first person just says, I don't know why game developers keep adding these stupid roulettes. It is not even tied to anything via monetization. It just feels awful. The game taunts you with great prices and then gives you the worst thing. I had a 4-star roulette that showed my awesome thing, an Audi R8 LMS GT3 race car and some Lamborghini thing. But nah, I got $5,000 in money instead. Come on, game. I get $50K a race and have more than $1 million already. $5K really isn't that great for a 4-star reward. And people are just going off on it. People are like, yeah, this should be criminal. And then they're just like, yeah, 10 tickets so far. All have been $5K to $2K in credits. It's rigged. They don't want to give away too many credits because they want you to buy more via the microtransactions. So
yeah, you can buy like a lot of those cars. You can buy them on the PSN, and they're fucking expensive.
Really?
That's probably why they do that. But
they're only available on the PSN, or can you buy them in the game too?
I'm sure you can buy them in the game, but it's with real money. It's not. It's like, sorry, I get what you mean. Yeah, you can buy them in the game as well, but they're like, you know, like that car he's talking about, like that Audi RS8 is probably fucking like a $2 million credits in the game. And it's like, okay, well, you know how long it would take me to get that? I mean, I've been playing the game for hours now. and I've got like 700,000 credits.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine playing for another, I don't know, 10 hours or 5 hours or whatever
to get one car,
to get to a couple million, and then I spend all of it on one vehicle. It's like, okay, well,
but you can only use in like one race.
Yeah, that they won't let you use in a lot of the races because it's, you know, you have to like build a race to be able to play it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really strange to me.
Yeah.
But so I guess I can see where a lot of the guff was at the beginning when people were arguing about how the currency works in the game. But other than that, I mean, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I love the game.
I love the way that it plays. And I love like and honestly, after playing it in VR, like I don't understand how anybody plays this game not in VR. Like I get if you want like the awesome graphics and all that stuff, you can't really play it in VR to get that. But like
Jake, you're just flexing because you have a VR2 headset. Come on, some people can't afford that shit.
But it seems like it would be so much harder out of VR, if that makes any sense.
It's the immersion is so much better in VR. It's just simply a better game. It's unarguable. I was just thinking
last night about like there's a lot of times where I'll go to a turn and I'll like miss it because of this like really tiny like amount of motion on the joystick whenever I'm controlling it. And I'm thinking like in my head, I'm like, if I had a wheel, that would not be a problem. It's just that my finger isn't accurate enough with this tiny motion on the joystick. But if I had a wheel, I know that I could do it a lot easier than I can with the joystick. But then I'm like, do I really want to spend $300 on a fucking wheel?
Here's what we'll do this summer. My buddy Ben has that wheel, and he's got a whole chair set up. We'll either go to his place and take my VR headset, or he can bring his setup over to my place, and we'll have a GT7 tryout party with the wheel and the pedals and shit. And then if it's awesome enough, then you'll know if it's worth it. It's a try before you buy thing for me, a wheel like that, because I don't want to invest that kind of money and then be like, it doesn't make that big of a difference. You know, I'm sure it makes enough difference, but
yeah, I'm trying to remember. There's like a wheel that a lot of people like. That's like pretty cheap.
The G9 or something.
The G29 is that? Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
And but you have to have something to like mount it to.
Yeah, he's got the whole fucking rig, dude. He's awesome.
Which is totally fine. I mean, I'm all about it, but
yeah,
it would be.
You're talking like kind of $350 probably for a whole setup with that wheel. That wheel, I think, is like $200. Yeah. And then you get the chair.
The wheel itself on Logitech's website is $299.
Oh, really? Because I think I found it online for like $200 somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure you can find like a used version of it or something. But the only thing that I think might be kind of hard is the braking and the gas and stuff might be a little bit challenging compared to using the triggers. But the steering would definitely, and the shifting would definitely be easier with a wheel.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, man.
I mean, I've just been playing a lot of that game, and I think it's amazing. So
race car drivers, because I saw someone online using a wheel, and they had a camera set up on the pedals and a camera set up on the wheel. They were using 2 feet brake and gas. Is that a thing with race car drivers for reaction response?
Yes, because you have to be able to use the gas and the brake at the same time to properly trail brake through corners.
Dude, that's fucking wild to think about.
So that's how race car drivers do it if they don't have to use the clutch. If you have to use the clutch, it's wild. The guys actually developed the ability to use 1 foot to use the gas and the brake at the same time. They put it half on both, and they'll twist their foot while they're going to apply less brake and more gas.
While they're careening at like 100 miles an hour down a track, 150.
Yeah.
Taking turns.
It's incredible. But, yeah.
I was just wondering, because I saw someone, I was like, does this person not know how to drive? Like, this is probably...
No, you have to when you're racing.
Interesting. It dawned on me, this is probably just how they do it. It's just foreign to me. All right, let's get into some listener feedback, man. I'm always able to admit when I'm an idiot and I don't know about some stuff. I don't know. I can't claim to know half as much as I know about the things that I don't know about. So, listener feedback. Big Box writes in and he says, Jake, Fred's right. You have to start learning the manual gear shifting in Gran Turismo 7. It's rewarding to turn that into a second nature process for your brain. It definitely doesn't start out that way. However, Fred should have told you the best way to do this is by racing your Ghost. Messing up your gear shifts while the pack leaves you in the dust isn't fun. But messing up your gear shifts while your Ghost is too makes the learning process much more enjoyable. Less stress, and you notice incremental improvements much more that way. By the way, GT7 is GT7 the PSVR 2's Half-Life Alyx. All of that I agree with, and I think it might be. I wrote him back, and I said, yeah, GT7 might be the Half-Life Alyx for PS5. It's obviously getting a lot of press, and it's obviously a winner. I'm surprised that Resident Evil Village isn't getting much fucking shit right now. I think a lot of people are just too scared to play it, honestly.
It could be. I mean, that's one of those games that's like, you've got to be. Also, I think like the main mode might be a little bit too hardcore for some people. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty intense, but I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. I don't know why Resident Evil 8 is not getting more. I think it's just like GT7 is just so good.
It's a cockpit game also, right? So that's VR games and cockpit games are just synonymous. They just work.
Well, and I think that the other thing too about GT7 is that people that don't normally have any interest in playing games like that are playing it because of VR.
Yeah.
And I don't know that VR is going to bring anybody new to Resident Evil Village, if that makes any sense. So that's kind of where my mind is at with it. Mm-hmm. But that said, I would really like for Half-Life Alyx to be PSVR's Half-Life Alyx. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Or give us like a Resistance game that's fucking VR. That'd be awesome. I think we're getting something down the road here. There's no way that they're not.
Yeah.
Next comment from Mando. He says, yeah, Jake, I feel you. With Elden Ring and Bloodborne, I stuck with it till I beat it and then dropped it. I'll check out the expansion if it's big enough. So, very well. Sounds good, Mando. Like your input. Thanks for writing in. J1 did write in and said, I have a bad habit of capitalizing the way I text on the cell phone. I live in the United States in New York City. I was born in the United States. I'm sorry for my text comments because I am disabled and troubled with my English speech writing. Please excuse my comments. I wrote J1 back. I said, hey, no worries at all. We appreciate you listening, being part of the tiny community. Don't feel any obligation to join Patreon, because he did say he was going to throw a buck to us here eventually. He was moving or something. Dude, the Patreon, I know I pushed it a bit on the podcast. It's never expected, but we always do appreciate it. So regardless, thanks so much, J1, for writing in. We'll quit giving you a hard time. J1 did write in and say that the Mouse and Moss book 1 and 2, because I couldn't remember, her name is Quill. That is correct. And I think I said Pivot or some shit like that in the last podcast. It was some kind of cutesy name. Quill makes way more sense because Moss, you're writing, it's a book, and it's like, you write with a pen quill. Thanks for that. And Played by Ken writes in. And he says, it's good to hear VR is proving to be great in GT7. I'll leave a comment on Patreon later with some more thoughts and info regarding Gran Turismo. He said, the bookstore again. Stuff was crazy. That's about my book school lore story. He said he would have been really pissed off if someone wrote that on a reminder card to him, especially multiple times. And then a VR question for us. Have we tried playing non-VR games in the PSVR 2? And if yes, what is the experience quality like? I imagine it would be like viewing a game on a big theater screen, but I'm curious about the image quality when viewed that way. Great episode again, guys. Thanks. I have not done any non-VR stuff in VR. I will say that the screens in Gran Turismo 7, until you get into the race and outside of the showroom stuff where you can look at the cars, like the map screen and the when you get into the garage and you're trying to it's all non-VR. None of that is in VR. It's just, it does look like a really big screen. It's weird to explain, but you nailed it, man. That's what it looks like. I haven't tried to play any of this shit, any non-VR titles with the VR headset. And if it's anything like the PSVR, the first version, it's probably, not superb quality, but you know, just is like, I think playing like a huge, like Destiny on a theater screen, like, you know, it's not going to look fucking 4K HDR high res, like, you know, but it's going to look fine enough because you have to sacrifice a little bit for scale. And I think, you know, I don't even know, Jake, have you tried this?
I haven't tried it with the VR2, but so I probably would never use this feature, not to poo-poo it, but like one, like you said, the quality is just going to be worse. It's just going to look worse when you play it on the theater mode in VR than it would on your television, on your flat screen, because the VR just can't render it that close to your eyes at as high a quality as it. I take that back. It might be 4K in the VR headset, but because it's so close to your fucking brain, it's going to look a little bit worse. Not to mention where you're looking and stuff, like, and how you have it adjusted, things could get blurry and all that kind of crap. The other thing is that, like, I have a horrible time with tracking in VR, so I don't.
Are you playing in a well-lit room?
What's that?
Are you playing in a well-lit room?
I mean, as well lit, I guess, as it can be.
You're not like dimming the lights and putting the headset on, right?
No. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I have a really narrow bridge, so I have to basically for the VR2 to be in focus, I have to put the eyepieces as close together as possible and smash the headset as close to my face as I possibly can. Otherwise, my eyes are too narrow for the headset. So I think that kind of contributes to it a little bit. But dude, like in VR, in Gran Turismo, when it pops out to those screens that are like the theater mode screens that are not the in-race kind of footage, dude, I constantly have to hold the options button to adjust my screen because it'll be like off to the fucking side or like something weird. And I couldn't imagine trying to deal with that while playing just a regular video game that's not in VR. To be fair, GT7 doesn't do it while I'm racing.
Yeah.
It only does it when I'm switching between those stupid flat screen menus. But yeah, I don't know. I think that this is a cool option for people, but to me it's like, if anything about the VR is gimmicky, it's probably that. Because it's like, who would really want to play a game like this? But some people, I'm sure, probably use it and love it.
Well, Played by Ken might want to. I mean, he's asking. So
that's what I'm saying. I mean, he may try it and really, really like it.
I think the feature,
but for me, it's not worth it.
Yeah, here's the feature I'm thinking of. We know he lives out in California, right? So maybe he's in a big fucking city, renting like this really small loft for like $1 million a month, right? Maybe you don't have the space to put up a big fucking HDR TV in your one fucking room apartment. So he's like, well, fuck, man, if I get a PSVR 2 and I just use it in cinema mode, then who needs a big TV screen, right? Then I could just fucking be, that's the solution. And I think for people living in big cities like New York City and stuff like that, I think this is an awesome idea. But I mean, you're going to lose quality. Is it going to look like shit? No, it's going to look good, but it's not going to look as good, you know? The
only thing I could think of now that you say that I could see myself using it for is that the room, my edition, which is where I have my console, has a lot of really big windows. And so during the day, it's really hard for me to play games that have any level of darkness to them at all, because I just can't fucking see anything because it's so bright in my room. So I could see like throwing on the VR headset and you wouldn't have that problem at that point. Yeah. Because you're in the zone. So it's kind of an interesting thing to think about too.
Do you want to know, and you mentioned having a narrow bridge, and I was watching this is a little bit of a digression, but it's related to something you said. I watched this movie. We live in Pennsylvania. There's a movie on Netflix. And Jake, it's a really cool movie. I don't know if you'd be interested or not, but I'm a Christian Bale fan. And they shot some of this movie at McConnell's Mills State Park, which is really close to where we're at. And it's a real pretty park. It might be a national park or whatever, at least some sort of state game land or something. They have these really awesome rock formations and stuff there. There's a Netflix original movie. It's about 2 hours long. It's called Pale Blue Eye. Dude, it's really good, and it's a period piece, and essentially Christian Bale plays. It's called The Pale Blue Eye. Sorry, it's back at West Point cadets in like the 1800s, or maybe 1920. It's either 1820 or 1920. There has been a murder, and one of the cadets are killed, and his heart was taken out of him, and it was staged to look like a hanging. And Christian Bale's character is apparently some sort of fantastic Sherlock Holmes kind of person, right? And the West Point reaches out to him to try to solve what the hell happened here. And as he shows up, he meets a cadet by the name of Edgar Allan Poe, before Edgar Allan Poe was famous. And true story, Edgar Allan Poe was a cadet at West Point, and he fucking only lasted like 7 weeks, and no one really knows what happened there. So this is like one of those stories that's fiction and nonfiction collide into a what if. They use this awesome narrative to give a little bit of fiction to maybe how Edgar Allan Poe came up with some of his poetry. There's a poem that he wrote, or a story that he had, called Landor's Cottage. So in the movie, Landor is the last name of Christian Bale's character, who turns out that he's a detective and he's trying to solve this thing. With the help of Edgar Allan Poe, they're trying to solve this heinous crime. It's such a great little movie. But you talked about having a narrow bridge. The guy who plays fucking Poe has a narrow bridge. And I was like, dude, it's way... I think his eyes... He probably can't use a VR. His eyes are really, 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 really close together. Harry Melling, he's becoming one of my favorite actors ever. He is absolutely outstaging Christian Bale in every scene they share together. He is fan-fucking-tastic. He is in Ballad of Buster Scruggs, one of the last vignettes in that on Netflix. He plays this quadriplegic, incapacitated individual who just has a knack for telling fucking stories, and is like a freak show sideshow back in the 1800s. And he speaks with such fervor and such fucking passion that like people pay to listen to him talk. And it's tragic, that story. But he is one of my new favorite actors. And I guess, speaking of Hogwarts, this guy was in Harry Potter, and I don't remember him at all. What's his name? Harry Melling, Melling. He is by far one of the best actors I've seen to date on the screen. He is fantastic. He is absolutely amazing. He's lost a ton of weight since his Harry Potter days. But I don't remember him in Harry Potter. I wasn't a big Harry Potter fan. He played Dudley, I guess.
Oh, wow.
Did you find him?
Dudley was a big boy in the movie.
Yeah, he certainly is not a big boy now.
Oh yeah, I was like, this guy looks so familiar.
He's fucking great. He's so good. He's been in things. You know him when you see him. You're like, oh, that guy.
Yeah, but if you look up Dudley from Harry Potter, that it's Harry Potter's shitty cousin or whatever that he lives with or whatever, and he's like the kind of chubby little
that's too bad
spoiled kid.
He plays an asshole, but Harry Melling, when he acts, if you give him any kind of script that has like the way people used to write, the way people used to talk, his delivery, holy shit, like he is a force on the big screen. Watch him in The Pale Blue Eye. Watch him in the one vignette with the Ballad of Buster Scruggs, and you will understand what I'm talking about. This dude is a force to be reckoned with, and I was so amazed at his performance yesterday. I called my father because he likes to watch movies and recommend movies to me. I said, you need to watch The Pale Blue Eye. You're not going to believe that Christian Bale's been upstaged. This dude fucking held it down as Edgar Allan Poe. It was so good. But he's got a real narrow bridge, and you brought up narrow bridge, and it brought up this to me about because there was something just about the way he looks, and I think it's that his eyes are kind of close together. So, but he looks really frail too. Like he's like 5'8" or something. How tall are you, Jake? Are you the next Harry Melling? Is my question.
I mean, I might be because I'm not quite that tall actually. So
really,
I'm like 5'7". Yep.
Man, watch out, Harry Melling.
Wearing my work boots.
Yeah, but he has the real narrow bridge too. Sorry, I went on a tangent there, but I'm on this kick right now, a Harry Melling kick. Like I want to watch all the movies he's been in now. He's so fucking good, underrated for sure. He's not your typical Hollywood dude, but he's I can't believe, like, he looks actually a little sick how thin he is. It might have been some of the makeup department too, but I mean, he looked fucking emaciated in The Pale Blue Eye, and that was part of his je ne sais quoi, so to speak. The appeal of that character, just the mysteriousness behind him. All right, well, what do you say we get into the news, Jake? I think my Dayquil is starting to hit me, which is awesome. First news point, PS5 sales continue to just steamroll in Japan. There was a news point on Push Square that PS5 has now surpassed 3 million consoles sold in Japan. Anything on that, Jake? Do you think the trend continues?
I mean, that's pretty freaking good for Japan. 3 million consoles. I mean, that's a small country. I mean, a lot of people live there, obviously. But yeah, that's great. I mean, it only means that the platform is healthy and that they've got units out in the wild. So it's cool to see.
Yeah, I think it continues. I'm going to say I think that's going to keep happening. I think the sales are just going to go up. It was really hard to get a hold of in Japan for a long time. So now that they've figured out the stock issue, and it's just good for good for Sony.
It didn't release there first, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong about that. That might have been the PS4. But
no,
I think it released in America first.
Yeah, I don't recall.
I don't remember.
Well, I don't recall. Man. There's a line in that show that Harry Melling says, and he's talking to this person. Sorry, man, I'm on a fucking kick. And he goes, you know, there are people in this world who say that the dead only haunt us because we care too little about them. And I was like, that's such a good fucking line. Ah, so good. Yeah, there is that theory about ghosts that, like, they only come back because they want to be remembered. And they're getting forgotten, and that's why ghosts exist. Awesome.
There's no such thing as ghosts. Moving on.
Yeah, there are, man. I haven't seen any. I haven't seen fucking ghosts, but I have some fucking good stories for you. We should do a ghost podcast where you just smack everything down. All right. So PS5 firmware. We got a new firmware update. It's a big deal. This is actually a really big one. It allows a lot of new things to happen. Most importantly, for me, the ability to update the controller firmware wirelessly is a nice feature. You no longer have to plug the DualSense in to have it update it. The controller firmware.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I didn't know. I knew the PS5 firmware updated, and it was like, there's a controller update, and I just clicked through it, and it wasn't plugged in, and then it said updating. I'm like, is it updating the one that's charging right now? Like, what just happened? And then ultimately I switched my controllers out like a couple days later, and it was like, there's a controller update, and I'm like, which one's that fucking updating? Like, I'm confused, but it turns out that it can update the firmware wirelessly now to your DualSenses, so that's nice. Other updates include there's a nice new trophy animation for when you crack a platinum trophy. It's just a little it shows up. I don't think they have the animations for the gold, bronze, or silver. The Discord integration now is full step. We're in it. VRR at 1440p, and then they did this thing with game discs and how they work. It's weird. I'm just gonna write to you what I found, and I guess it gives me. Let's talk about it, and then I'll explain why I think this is fine. It doesn't solve any problems, but it could make your life maybe easier down the road. If your PS5 has the download version of a game that you haven't purchased, such as those that other users on your PS5 have purchased, but you yourself have the disc version of that game, you can now play the installed download version by inserting the disc without installing the disc version. Similarly, if you've installed a game using the disc and you've purchased the download version of the game, you can now play the installed disc version of the game without putting the disc in. That's the key feature there. So I don't know how many games I have the physical version of that have since come to PS Plus where I've not added it to my library because I'm like, what the fuck? What's the point? I already have the disc. Right there. If I just download and add it to my library and install it from the PSN, I won't have to put the disc in any longer. If it knows...
I don't know that you ever had to.
Well, if you don't install... I think what they're saying
unless
is...
Unless this was a bug on PS5, to me this sounds like they're fixing bugs. Because there's been multiple times where I've owned a disc version of a game and I've got the PS Plus version of it because I don't want to fucking...
Did you download it, though? Did you download the PS Plus version to your console?
Did I download the PS Plus version of my console?
To play it. Because the requirement...
I don't know if I have or not.
So the requirement now is that your account is just linked with a digital version purchase of the game. So you don't even have to have it downloaded. So if you have the disc version of the game installed on your console, let's use the example. The example is this: The Quarry. No, that's not the example because I bought that. Fuck. Resident Evil 7. Let's use that. I have the disc version of Resident Evil 7. It was a PS Plus game for a while. I've been using the disc version of the game for indefinitely. Even though I had claimed it on the PlayStation Network as a Plus bonus and I added it to my game library, anytime I wanted to play Resident Evil 7, I would go over to the file, I would say play, forget that I had the disc version, and it would be like, you must use the disc. So I'd have to go fucking fish out the disc and put it in to play it, even though I had the PS Plus digital version in my account. So they're saying in that...
That's fucking stupid.
Yeah, but now, so now they're saying that if I have the digital version in my library, and even though I haven't installed it, if my disc version is installed on my PS5, then I can just play it now. So it seems like a bug fix, but it needed to happen. But it doesn't solve all the fucking problems that we've talked about.
I shouldn't ever have to fucking put a disc in my console. That's the problem.
If you buy a disc, you should have to.
No, fuck that. Once I install it the first time, it should lock it to my console, and I should never have to put a disc in
yeah, I agree with that. I didn't think about that. But, I mean, you have to put it in at least once.
Well, sure. But it's just so stupid. Like if you in that situation you're talking about, if you uninstalled it from your console,
yes,
then went to your library and downloaded it,
yeah,
would you still have to put the disc in?
No.
Because what you downloaded was the digital version.
version.
Okay. I wonder if this has any relation to the fact that for whatever fucking reason, Skyrim installs the PS4 and PS5 versions of the game on my console.
Yeah, good luck, dude. Good luck ever figuring out how to install Warzone. Dude, it took me 2 days to figure out what I needed to play that game. And it's a free to play. It was like, here's PS4 version, here's all the DLC, here's this. And then you have to install the regular Call of Duty game, but you don't have to buy it. But you can't play it. And then it's like, do you want to install the extra textures for the PS4 and PS5 versions or just the PS5 versions? And it's like, oh, then there's all this DLC content. And it's like, holy fuck, like, let me just play the game. So, yeah, dude, they got to fix some of that shit. Another thing that was added PS5 firmware is voice command updates. So if you enable voice command, this is actually kind of nice, actually, because I always get confused how to record the things that just happened. They have voice commands now for recording gameplay. You can just say PlayStation record the last 30 minutes, record the last 15 minutes, save the last recent fucking 15 minutes of gameplay. PlayStation, take a screenshot of this, and it just does it. That share button's kind of nice, but I use it so seldom that I don't remember how to utilize it correctly. I have some hotkeys where you double tap it, it does something. You hit it one time, it does something. You push and hold it, it does something. You just push it one time, it does something. But I can never remember. And I think I have it now where I just push it one time and it brings up the menu and I can record gameplay or take a screenshot. And if I go to record gameplay, I can tell it to go back up to the entire length of the video or whatever to catch stuff. I want to start doing more game video shit for the channel. I really enjoy cutting together video of gameplay. I really do. But it's so time consuming. The other thing we talked about was that's it. There was some other shit that they added to the update, the firmware update, but those are the big ones. Jake, you got any other input on that?
No, none of this stuff really matters to me. I guess maybe if I was running into the issue with the game discs or whatever, then that would be a problem. It's honestly probably only a problem really for PS Plus people who are getting the game after they've already got it and they want to just download it or whatever. But VRR at 1440 might be the coolest thing in this whole list, just because it's a really great kind of addition to the graphical, whatever you want to call it, stuff that the PS5 can do. It's a little late to the party, but at least it has it now. Honestly, the wireless firmware updating of the controller is the best part of this.
You just listed 3 fucking things. You're like, this is probably the best thing. No, this is probably this. I hear you.
I only listed 2. I said fucking VRR, and I said the controller update. The controller update is the one that matters to me the most because I disabled VRR on my TV. But
excuse me.
The rest of it, I mean, Discord is still a fucking nightmare to use, so I don't know why anyone would use it on their PS5 or Xbox.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is kind of just some neat stuff. I don't know. It's more than nothing.
Yeah, right. Let's touch real quick back on the Streets of Rage thing, the news point, because I put it in the news because I was so freaking excited about it. Again, if you haven't played this game and you like this style of game, you gotta play Streets of Rage 4. Dotemu, I can't stand. There's so many companies and there's just so much shit in the video game world, like Square Enix. There's Dotemu, things that people don't know how to pronounce. I can't stand it. But it's Dotemu is the company that made this game, in conjunction with another company. Anyways, favorite beat 'em up, Streets of Rage 4. I think it is going down as my favorite. I love Final Fight. I love me some fucking Final Fight. That's one of my favorite beat 'em up games. I think maybe that's nostalgia pulling on me. But Streets of Rage 4 is so fucking good. It's so good. There are 300 improvements with this free DLC. One of the big ones includes the ability when you're doing a co-op for special moves. Like if Jake, let's say I'm playing Skate and you're playing Blaze, and we're fucking going at it, and we're punching these mohawked haired dudes, and we're fucking going nuts. And then, you know, I'm like, well, shit, Jake, let me run over and jump. And then I jump over at your guy, and then all of a sudden you're holding me above your head, right? And then you can throw me. And then while I'm in air, after you throwing me, it unlocks the ability for my character to do this special move. So they integrated all these co-op things, which is really fucking a nice quality of life punch. And
so it's just the move, right? Because you could throw your partner before. Right?
Yeah, it's the move.
Pretty sure.
I believe it's the move that's tied to the character now. And then that survival mode on, I think it's Professor X's Nightmare or Mr. X's Nightmare, that the DLC that I just purchased, you can customize survival mode now. You can make your own custom challenges. And, you know, my question is this: this game is just so critically well received. What is the chance that they're going to do a Streets of Rage 5? I mean, I don't think it's off the table.
Yeah, I mean, if people really like it, I don't see why they wouldn't do another one. It can't be that. I'm sure it's not like a high dollar investment for them.
Now they have they have the system in place, right? They mastered all the character movements and shit. Like they've got it all somewhere saved on a fucking database. Like the gameplay is locked. So all they got to do is do some new environments, a new story, give us a new character or two, call it Streets of Rage 5, get us a whole new soundtrack. Boom. It would sell like hotcakes, dude.
Yeah, it definitely might. I don't know.
Streets of Rage is making a fucking comeback, dude. I love it. Out of nowhere, too. This game's been out for a while. All right. The next news point, which I thought was actually surprising, unexpected, especially with how much Sony pushed Call of the Mountain. The best-selling VR launch title was Kayak VR Mirage. It's unbelievable. This game is so good. I've talked about it, and I think I don't even need to talk about it anymore. I think the data speaks for itself. This is the game to fucking play on VR. Not Gran Turismo 7, not fucking Village. Go get a kayak paddle and just kayak around. I think the reason it's so
weird.
The graphics are I was on Reddit, and someone said they started crying when they played this game because they couldn't believe that we finally made it there, you know? Like the quality. And I was thinking too.
I don't know. It seems to me kind of like a kind of gimmicky. That's the only reason why I haven't bought it.
It's not
because I'm not going to pay fucking $20 to just sit in a kayak and look at pretty things for a while. Like, because I have no desire to float around in a kayak.
Oh, really?
It would literally just be me looking at things and be like, oh, this looks cool, which is like kind of the definition of a gimmick. But if people are really into kayaking and really enjoy that part of it, then I guess that's neat. I would really rather like just not use the Sense controllers and just fucking press a button on my controller to move around.
Interesting. Yeah, man, no, it's so good.
That's just me. I mean, it looks neat, and I would like to see it at some point, but it's not something I have any interest in really playing.
Well, if you ever want to try it sometime, you can try it when you're over here. It's really fucking impressive. And I was thinking more too, like in regards to this game, and then, you know, J1 said that he has some incapacities or disabilities, whatever you want to say, however you want to call it. Dude, VR might be such an awesome way for people who are have restricted movement. You know what I mean? Like folks in wheelchairs or people who are, you know, folks who can't drive due to like epilepsy or something. Like, I don't know if you want to fucking put a VR headset on if you're epileptic, but I'm just saying, like, it might be, there might be some teeth to giving people an opportunity to quote unquote try things that they would otherwise be unable to do in real life. So kayaking is one of those things, I would imagine. And how fucking cool would that be? Man, I guarantee, man, if I had any kind of disability or I really, honestly, I'm not sure what the correct way is to say that. I think disabled. You know, I don't know. I don't know if it's incapacity. But if I had an issue or I had a hurdle on my physical health or any kind of situation, man, and I was able to put a fucking VR headset on to fucking go 120 miles an hour around a fucking racetrack. What a fucking rush that would be. You know, what if I could just use the fucking sticks and just walk around in Resident Evil? How fucking rad would it feel to be able to just fucking walk? Like, for some folks who can't do that. Like, it's got to be so awesome.
I think it would be cool. It's definitely a neat kind of concept, because I was thinking about something like when I was playing GT7. You had already mentioned how cool it would be to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even something as simple as going to a concert or
exactly,
you know, any number of things, skydiving, I don't know, riding a roller coaster. Like,
right.
These are all things that I guess could be experienced by people who have mobility issues.
Right.
And I was thinking about this too while I was playing GT7. I don't know that they'll do it. And it might be really hard to do without making you nauseous, but I really want them to do a fucking VR mode for a Ride 4. Oh, I think that would be so freaking cool.
It would make you sick.
But that's what I'm saying. It might, because of the way that you move around on the motorcycle, it might make you sick. And so there might not be a good way to do it. But that would be kind of neat. Yeah, we've already talked on this podcast before about like different things that outside of gaming that would be really neat to do. Just general life experiences. Going to a freaking safari, or like we said, concerts, or
game hunting.
You know, listening to people speak, or, you know, going to visit the Louvre in France, or big game hunting. Dive into the bottom of the ocean. Like, there's all kinds of, and I guess that Kayak Mirage VR, whatever the fuck it's called, is kind of like a version of that. So, you know, I may say that that type of a game is not for me. That doesn't mean it's not for somebody else that is either interested in kayaking or maybe unable to. Maybe they live in a fucking city and they're not, you know, maybe they don't have mobility issues and they just like live in a fucking city and they aren't able to go kayaking.
You want to fucking walk through the woods for once in your life. Yeah. I mean, I used it 2 winters ago when it was just nothing but fucking winter in Northwest PA, and I wanted to feel the sunshine or pretend like I was in the sunshine. I powered up a Drive Club, and I just drove along the coast, man, and I heard the seagulls going. I had the top down, just fucking cruising, and I was like, this is fucking rad. Like, I needed this. So it was just weird, and even though you don't get the actual serotonin levels up by playing it, but I mean, Jesus, it's the closest I could come with my income to being in California. You know what I mean? Riding in a fucking convertible. Like, it was awesome. It felt good. I just think there's something to it, man. I think VR is, you know, there are way, I mean, we've said it before, but I mean, it doesn't just have to be a gaming thing. I think it could be really, really enjoyable for different reasons, depending on who you are and what you're looking for. So, I don't know, man. Let's move on to this next. I just added a new one in here real quick. And speaking of which, you know, flight sims, cockpit games, that kind of stuff. All of these kind of games always work really well with VR. And there was a new announcement, and the announcement was that Aces of Thunder, it's a flight sim for VR 2. And I believe it's a World War. Actually, I don't know. This is straight off of uploadvr.com. I'm looking at it real quick. I'm going to read a little bit about this game because it's got my attention. I really enjoyed the Star Wars Rogue. What was it? Rogue
Squadrons?
Yeah, Squadrons. Yeah, sorry.
Star Wars Squadrons?
Really enjoyed the flying in that. And I wanted to get Ultra Wings, but I never did. But Aces of Thunder is a flight sim. So it says on uploadvr.com, this was announced recently for PlayStation VR 2. It says the flight simulation title from Gaijin Entertainment, the team behind War Thunder, promises online multiplayer and the freedom to fly iconic military aircraft with no limits. There's a 1-minute trailer for this game, and it shows combat and stuff, but it I guess it just looks awesome. And with the success of Gran Turismo 7, we have some flying in No Man's Sky. Cockpit games are some of the easier ones probably to adapt for PSVR, or VR2 rather. But this is going to be, according to the Sony store, focused exclusively on aerial combat and distributed on a paid model. So I don't know if it's going to be free to play and then you purchase the planes. It says with different competitive online game modes available, such as team versus team and single duels, you'll be able to test your skills against other virtual pilots in these aerial battles. The game's physically accurate flight and damage models derived from the popular War Thunder military action game ensure that battles are immersive and believable, taking place exclusively from the cockpit view and with complete control over all flight systems. And then it says the title promises to have dozens of planes from World War II, including the P-51 Mustang and British Spitfire, with more combat aircraft from other eras to come in the future add-ons. There's no release date, but it looks really, really cool. And I wonder if we're going to see planes that require multiple people. Like, could you get like fucking 17 people in a B-17 bomber, have someone on a turret gun, have some people on the, the ball turrets, have some people in the bomb bay, have some people on the fucking back turrets, have a pilot, co-pilot. Dude, doing that in VR would be so fucking rad. There should be like a 15 versus 15. Like you send 15 fighter pilots after a squad in a B-17. They have to drop a bomb and successfully hit their target and not go down. That would be so fucking rad. And I only say that specifically because I have I want to say he's my uncle. Yeah, my grandma's great uncle. Grandma's brother was MIA. He was a co-pilot in a B-17 that went missing. We think he went down over the Adriatic, but R.I.P. Uncle Emil, Granduncle Emil, but he had a lot of successful flights, and then they think he got taken down by flak or something. But it'd be so cool for me to be able to jump into a B-17 with a squad of people in line and just fucking try that out and get fucking attacked by German, whatever. I just think these kind of games could be really fucking cool online.
Yeah, definitely. They could be neat in VR for sure.
Be kind of wild. It's kind of like,
and that War Thunder game was fun.
Yeah.
It was very online. Like if you understand what that means, like it just had like all the fucking online only menus and all that kind of shit in the chat box and all that kind of crap but the gameplay itself was fun.
Yeah, you're right. It was fucking cool though. You just put a new news point up here. Let's talk about this one. Let me see. This is what, 113? Jeez, we're cruising here. You said the Bloomberg has reported the Suicide Squad might be delayed due to poor state of play reception. You want to speak on that?
Yeah, I was just reading this on Video Games Chronicle that Bloomberg is reporting that Warner has decided to push the title from its previously announced May release date until later this year. I don't know how they could fix a lot of the issues that people have in just by delaying it a few months to the end of the year. Mm-hmm. But maybe they can revert on some of that stuff. I don't know. I just know that whenever I looked at it, I kind of had the same reaction as a lot of people in that, like, all of the cutscenes and all of the story beats looked fucking awesome. And then as soon as I saw the gameplay, I was just like, meh. Like, running around, shooting
flying. Everyone's just fucking flying.
Everybody's flying all over the place. And all the enemies and tanks and stuff, they just have these... It's like this... Just like this online shit where it's like everything has like a glowing purple orb on it that you got to shoot and like all this stuff. I don't know. It just looked kind of meh.
Yeah.
And that to me, that seems kind of wild coming from the Arkham creators. And those games they redefined combat in many ways with the Arkham series. So for them to come out with this and have it look like just some fucking generic third-person shooter, like Fortnite kind of nonsense that just happens to have a dope-ass story, it's kind of disappointing. So we shall see, because I don't think this has been officially stated by Warner Brothers, but it was just something that Bloomberg, I guess, maybe had heard through their sources. So I guess we'll have to see how that plays out. But as the game stands right now, it's highly unlikely that I'm going to play it, just based on the way that the gameplay looks. But maybe if they change it and they fix it up a little bit, I would be more interested in playing it. So I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. As I hawk a loogie in the ears of all our listeners. Last news point before we get on to the new games coming out, or the new games that have been released, rather, is that Sony had made a statement a while back of how much money they had available to kind of broaden their brand, their acquisitions, all that stuff. Someone did some math somewhere, and they're calculating that as of right now, they have about $5 billion remaining of what they set aside to do what they meant to do. So it just opens up interesting conversation. What are they going to fucking try to acquire with $5 billion? Anything? Do they just hang on to it? Are they going to put this money into the lawsuit, against fucking Microsoft or whatever the fuck they're doing there? Or is this money already accounted for? Maybe they just sifted it over in all this PlayStation advertising, maybe they just shuffled some money over to the advertising sector. $5 billion, I don't know. I can't even imagine $1 billion. I can't imagine $1 million. So $5 billion seems like it's a lot, but I don't know if it really is when you're talking about purchasing companies or buying out, I don't know. I mean,
yeah, I know that there's been, obviously, it's been speculated for a long time that they've been courting Square Enix, but I mean that might be more than $5 billion purchase. I don't know. So it's kind of interesting to see that they've got $5 billion in the bank and to spend on shit and see what they come up with. I mean, hopefully they spend it in a way that makes sense and they don't just go buy shit to buy shit because Microsoft is buying shit, because that, I don't know if that makes sense for them, but we'll have to see, because things are getting kind of wild with the Activision Blizzard thing. I guess it's been approved in Europe, so that could be kind of a game changer. I was thinking about this because I did see a news point that said, and we've already mentioned on the show that we're not really talking about the Activision thing because it's just been so fucking persistent for the past, I don't know, year. But saying that Microsoft announced that they would allow Sony to put Call of Duty on PS Plus day one, just because they're putting it on Game Pass. And I'm sure that Sony probably would be okay with that from an engagement standpoint, but I was thinking about it. If Call of Duty sells 15 million copies a year, and let's just say, I don't know, fucking half of them are on PlayStation, and I guarantee you it's more than half of them. So 15, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We'll divide that by 2. That's 7.5 million copies times, what would it be, like $25 per copy just for it selling on PlayStation?
Yeah.
That's $187 million a year that Sony makes on Call of Duty if only half of the copies sell on PlayStation. So while Sony would be, I guess if that's all they could get, they would be jazzed to have Call of Duty on PS Plus. They would much rather just sell the fucking copies on PlayStation. So I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see how that rolls out. I don't know. I didn't mean to hijack your conversation. I was
You
just
didn't? No, that's fine.
It.
And then there was some sort of quote about Jim Ryan just saying, like, you know, their goal isn't to fucking do that. It's to keep the acquisition from happening.
Yeah.
Jesus. All right. Well, let's get to some of these new games. And
God, there's so many.
And then we'll wrap it up just because I'm not feeling top notch. I'm still getting over it. And hopefully next week we'll be back on the right leg. New games coming out is March 6th. Well, we're recording this on the 12th, so this is a little old. I don't understand why. But March 6th, Dead Cells Return to Castlevania and The Wanderer, Frankenstein's Creature. March 7th, we got Little Witch Nobeta, Roman Sylvania, Romansylvania. And then The Outer Worlds Spacer's Choice Edition. March 8th, Kart Rider Drift. March 9th, Arcade Archives Turbo Force, Caverns of Mars Recharged, Clash Artifacts of Chaos, Fatal Frame Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, Figment 2 Creed Valley, Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game 6. Oni, Road to the Mightiest Oni. Jesus fucking Christ. Papatura, The Last Spell, Tiny Troopers Global Ops, Transport Fever 2 Console Edition, Zappling Bygone. March 10th, Before Your Eyes, PSVR 2, I hear is like a really emotional game. And you only play it with your eyes. You don't even use a controller. DC Justice League Cosmic Chaos, Evil Up, Mato Anomalies, might be Mato Anomalies, Mythology Wafus Mahjong, Neodori Forever, and Paw Patrol Grand Prix Pup Treat Arena. Now, I do know that Switchback VR, the one.
Also, I'm pretty sure that's waifu, not waifu.
Oh.
So like, you know, anime waifus.
Oh, fair enough. The Switchback VR is supposed to come out March 16th. So this week, we're recording this on the 12th. So in 4 days from the date we're recording this. So I don't know. That's all I really got, man. Man, I fucking hope I feel better next week. That's all. I just
I heard Before Your Eyes is really good. And those types of games are really hard for me to get into, but I don't know, maybe I'll try it.
The art style kind of sucks. It's real simple. But I think the message is good.
Yeah, I'm not really one of those people that I'm with you. Like it's kind of like how I felt about Psychonauts 2 when I first played it. I was like, man, I fucking hate this art style. But the game is so good. So I'm sure that Before Your Eyes is kind of like that too. It does seem like people are really enjoying it. Other than that, if you haven't played The Outer Worlds, this is a good time to jump in with the Spacer's Choice Edition. The game is really good. And the other notable comment I'll make about games on this list is that Return to Castlevania version of Dead Cells looks so cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll play it, but it looks like they just dropped the guy from Dead Cells just right into fucking Castlevania. It's pretty neat, to be honest with you.
And I'll just offer one last quick addendum. I was trying to think of what that murder mystery game was on the PSVR that I like so much. And I found that the title of it is The Invisible Hours. And it was awesome. So if you have a PSVR, number one, not the new version of the PSVR, the OG VR, and you're looking for an interesting game to try on it, The Invisible Hours was really, really fun. Really cool. So that being said, that's all I got. Jake, are you good?
Well then. Yeah, I got shit to do, so I'm totally fine with wrapping this up, grabbing some lunch. I gotta hang some insulation this afternoon.
Nice. Very good, man. All right. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in to episode 267 of PS This Is Awesome PlayStation Podcast. We'll be back next Monday. Make sure to subscribe, like, leave comments. You know, all your fucking YouTube creators say that bullshit, but it really makes a difference, especially for the underdogs like us to get out there and get heard. So if you want to throw a buck our way, you know where to find the Patreon. And thanks for tuning in. Hope to hear from you this week, and we'll go over any kind of feedback you have on this episode, next episode. And don't forget, last episode of The Last of Us airs tonight, Sunday, the 12th. I believe today's the 12th, 13th, 12th. And Jake and I will be doing our final podcast for that. And we'll be putting that up tomorrow night to talk about the how it all resolves. And I hope we get to see Joel go ham. That's all I want to say. And tune into that shit, because we're going to be talking about it. So that out of the way, like undisputed, undetected, and unholy. P.S.
Yes.
This is awesome.
This is awesome.